Something that's not getting talked about nearly as often when it comes to the Patriots is actually their cap issue. A lot of people have talked about how they have an ample amount of cap space, but that to me is not true. That's kind of a fallacy that's being thrown around. They don't have 100 million, 80 million like they did last year, right? They have $38 million in cap space, right? It's not nothing. You can use that, but it has to be higher. The Patriots are in a predicament where they have to extend Christian Gonzalez because if they wait until his contract is done, he's only going to be worth more later. I've seen estimates as high as 40 million a year for him. I've seen it as low as like 30 million. He's probably going to want to be the highest paid corner in the NFL. He's going to look to his Super Bowl performance as the justification for that. And so I'm thinking more like that 31.5 million a year, but let's round up to 35 million a year, right? Just to round it up. The Patriots also have a few free agents of their own that they are going to want to bring back. Kyrus Tonga, Jack Westover is a exclusive rights free agent. You got guys like Alex Austin, who's a restricted free agent, who they might want to re-sign for depth. These guys are not going to be they're not going to cost a lot, right? But you got to get them out. But you got to get them out of the way. K'Lavon Chaisson is the only unrestricted free agent that we have that I would love to see come back. The issue is that I don't think it's going to be financially possible to do so. What I don't want the Patriots to do is put themselves into cap jail for multiple seasons, like what the New Orleans Saints did years ago when they were like $40 million over the cap, and it completely screwed them. So if we're talking 35 million a year for Gonzalez and about 15 million a year for Chaisson, that's already 50 million for two guys. And you only have 38 million in cap to begin with. So what are you going to have to do? Well, it's going to require restructuring contracts. There's a way to create cap space, an ample amount, right, without a guy having to necessarily sacrifice any money that he agreed to when he signed here. So I'm going to look at a few players specifically and kind of give a specific example of what the Patriots can do to create cap space. Simplest one is you got Stephon Diggs, you got Carlton Davis, and you got Mike Onwenu. Diggs' contract is not a great contract. I thought at the time that we signed him that it was an overpay by quite a bit, just because of his age and the injury he's coming off of. And granted, he had 1,000 yards, which is good for him. I'm happy for him. But he's not worth that much. A lot of the guys that the Patriots signed, Milton Williams included, are guys that they knowingly overpaid just to ensure that they got him in the building because they were guys that they really, really wanted. And I respect that to a degree. You hone in on a guy that you really like, and you do what you got to do to get him. So I get it. But now they have to adjust, improvise, adapt, overcome. You learn that in the military. But it's true. You have to improvise now, and you have to adapt, and you have to figure out a way to maybe right some of your wrongs, fix some of your mistakes, and find a way to create more cap space. With Diggs and Carlton Davis both, actually, if you can take $12 million for each of them, take $12 million of their base salary that they're due for 2026 and convert it to a signing bonus. And with Diggs, you might have to extend the contract actually by a year to push dead cap up a season, which would inevitably save you a little bit of money later. But if you did that, if you converted that to a signing bonus, you would actually create approximately $9 million in cap space for each guy. So 18 in total. So there's that. Mike Onwenu, what you want to do is you want to take 10 million of his base, convert that to a signing bonus, and then add 2 void years to his contract. By doing that, you would create, I think, 6 million, I believe, in cap space. So just by restructuring those 3 guys alone, which there's a plethora of other players that they can restructure also, by just restructuring those 3 guys alone, you'd create what is that? $24 million of cap space. So 24 million plus your 38. You're looking at 62? Yeah, 62 million right there in cap, which is so much better to work with, especially when you have guys like Gonzalez that you have to try to keep him. He's the best player in your defense. He's one of the best players on your entire team. He wants to be a Patriot. He earned his money. He's the only. It seems like he was the best player on defense outside of Craig Woodson, and he was the only one that really showed up for the Super Bowl. It seems like. So, find a way to keep him. You have great players in the building. You got to find a way to keep those players in the building for as long as possible. There are other guys that you can restructure. You can restructure Milton Williams. You can restructure Ramondre Stevenson. And the good thing about adding void years, converting things to signing bonuses, which really just means that you're paying them a higher lump sum earlier rather than spread out over time. The good thing about that is that it not only creates cap, it allows you to manipulate the cap, but these guys are not having to sacrifice money or take a pay cut necessarily in order to play for the team. They signed with the Patriots for X amount of money. That's the amount of money that they wanted. That's the amount of money that the team agreed upon. And doing it that way means that they don't miss out on that money. It's just being given to them a little different. It's being distributed a little differently, a little different frequency, duration, whatever you want to call it. So really, it's a win-win. So they're going to have to do a lot of restructuring this offseason in order to create new cap space, because there's still glaring holes on this team that free agency is going to really help. There's guys like Romeo Doubs, for example, at wide receiver, who I think would fit really well in the system. There's guys like Jawan Jennings, who I think could fit really well in the system. And these guys are not number one wide receivers. They're not, right? I know the Patriots need a true number one. They might have to go to the draft for that. There's some really good wide receivers in this draft. But you're seeing number two receivers in the free agency now going for 15, 60 million a year. It's just a reality of the NFL now. The cap's only going up. So this team they need pass catcher. They need younger, reliable pass catchers. They probably need a new number 3 running back. They need linemen. I don't think they're probably going to cut ties with Garrett Bradbury and move Jared Wilson into center. So you're going to need a guard, maybe even 2 guards, and maybe a couple of tackles. I expect them to try to re-sign Thayer Munford just because they like him in their kind of like extra tight end packages and whatnot. But like defensively, they still need edge rushers. They need a real D end. They're going to need another outside linebacker because I don't think they're going to be able to afford to keep K'Lavon Chase on. They probably need corner depth, and they're probably going to need a new free safety because I don't think they're going to re-sign Jalen Hawkins either. So a lot of those positions, a lot of those holes are going to be filled in the draft, especially like linemen. You want to draft your offensive tackles because it's really hard to find good offensive tackles in free agency because guys usually get re-signed. So you're going to want to keep around 7 million, maybe 8 million tops in cap space for your draft class and your rookie class. But you're going to have to try to pay $35 a year to Gonzalez potentially. And you got a few other like restricted and exclusive rights free agents that you want to re-sign, like Westover, Kyrus Tonga, things like that. So the Patriots cap situation is not all that positive, in my opinion, right now. But I do think that there's really easy ways to manipulate the cap, to restructure these contracts, create more cap space so that we can keep this train rolling, because the Patriots are on the right track and they have holes to fill. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they got up their sleeve because it's going to be required.